What is up, YouTube fam? Today we are reinstalling the transmission pan on our 2003 Ford Focus SE. Stay tuned. This car requires Mercon 5 transmission fluid. We only seen 4.5 come out. The car requires 6.6 liters. I know it's not going to take that much, so I got 5 liters. We also got some high heat resistant gasket maker because this pan does not come with a gasket, so we have to actually create our own, and I'll show you how that works. This is the new solenoid that's going to be installed. As you can see, it has a hole at the top where the bolt will be inputted, and it also has the sensor clip which will clip into it as well. First things first, we're going to test the resistance on the new solenoid just to make sure it's in good working order. The reading is the exact same as the good working solenoid that's still inputted in the car. Now if you listen closely, you'll hear it click into place. Once the new solenoid is in place, you want to screw in the nut that securely holds it. Once the nut is in place, you want to tighten it up with a ratchet. Then you want to finish it up by reinstalling the solenoid sensor clip. Now if your transmission pan does not come with a gasket, there are so many things that you need to consider here. The first thing you want to consider is you want to make sure that this bead is even throughout the entirety of the pan. Another really important thing to remember is once you apply this gasket maker, you have to let it sit for about 15 or 20 minutes so that the gasket actually becomes sticky. You do not want to install the pan right away. The third most important thing to remember is once you're putting this pan back up, you're only going to put about 4 temporary bolts in place, and you do not tighten it down. You let it then sit, slightly touching the metal for another 5 to 10 minutes. So now that I'm installing the pan, I'm just going to put 4 temporary bolts in place so that the pan is aligned. That gasket maker is now sticky, but it's not fully cured, so we don't want to be shifting the pan around a whole lot. And remember, I waited approximately 17 minutes before I began doing this so that the gasket maker could become sticky. Once the 4 bolts were in place, I continued to install every single bolt in place by hand, not tightening anything. Once all the bolts were in place, I grabbed the ratchet extension and I slowly started tightening the bolts by hand in a star pattern, making sure that the pan is going up evenly. Guys, I can't stress this enough. If you are doing this by yourself for the first time, if you do not follow this process, when you pour transmission fluid into this pan, it's going to continue to leak out the bottom. We do not want any leaks. Now that the pan is in place and all the bolts are up by hand, I grab my ratchet and I continue to tighten them up nice and snug. Now that the hard part was all done, we started adding some transmission fluid. At this point you want the car running. You also want to be checking the transmission fluid multiple times, and you also want to be going through the gears nice and slow on the vehicle while your foot is on the brake so that the transmission fluid has time to circulate through the transmission. For this particular vehicle, you do have to pour the fluid extremely slow. If you pour it fast, it creates an airlock or a bubble and it kind of spews back out at you. And that's pretty much it, guys. Make sure you drive the car so that the fluid circulates, and continue to check it for the next 2 to 3 days just to make sure you are at the full mark. This vehicle actually only took 4 liters of transmission fluid and it made it to the full mark. So just keep that in mind. And as always, YouTube fam, I appreciate you guys so much. If this video was helpful, make sure to hit that subscribe button and click on the bell to stay tuned for the next episode. Thanks so much for watching, and you guys enjoy your day.